Hi students, this is the last lecture that we will watch together this week. So this is going to give you that example of absolute poverty, and we will also bring in human development issues when we see evidence of them. So this should be in your notes as like connected to our discussion of poverty and our discussion of human development, both global stratification also. And when we're looking at this, think about what you're witnessing here, because on project 3, you're going to be given scenarios that don't necessarily come from this film, but these are some examples of absolute poverty. So as we watch this film together, I'm going to be explaining to you why these are examples of absolute poverty. Also, please get your notes ready. You're going to see 5 different things, 5 different sets of words, 5 different items come across the screen. These 5 different resources in life apply to the UN Habitats Program's definition of a slum. A slum is an absolute poverty condition, and we know that absolute poverty is life-threatening. So we're not going to watch this whole video. I'm starting it a couple minutes in, but I need in your notes some space, and I think if you do this right, you're going to stop me several times during this video so you can write examples. But the 5 things are, and please enumerate them and give yourself some space in your notes. The 5 things are a durable house. So I mentioned before, if you just have, your house made out of cardboard and tin, it could be blown away, in any kind of rainstorm, that some sort of durable housing is necessary to subsist when shelter is absent for you. Also, within that shelter, in order for people to be mentally well and for people to be physically well, the second thing that you need is sufficient space for everybody that has to share the space. So we're going to see in this video some examples of how the housing is not durable in a slum and how the space within the housing is not sufficient. And so I want you to write down some examples of not being sufficient space and not being durable that you see in this video. The other things are having secure tenure to your housing. Tenure is a word that means you have the right to something. If you have a lease with an apartment building and you are paying your rent regularly, they are supposed to hold up their end of the bargain. You're supposed to hold up your end of the bargain. And while y'all are holding up your end of the bargain, in that 12-month time span that you've agreed to, you have a right to that apartment. And that's what tenure means. In a slum, people have so few resources, so few life chances, that they don't own the property where they have constructed these temporary houses. They don't own it, so they don't have the right to be there. And that can put you on the street and destroy what little property you might have in life. Additionally, you have to have safe water and proper sanitation. And those are the 5 things. So durable house, a sufficient space, tenure, secure tenure to your living arrangements, safe water, and proper sanitation. And so in this short part of this video, we're going to watch about 7 minutes of it. We are going to see absolute poverty conditions, and we're also going to see some effects of these absolute poverty conditions, like shortened life expectancy because of, which is a human development issue, because of absolute poverty, because of systemic absolute poverty, because of generation after generation after generation of absolute poverty, without infrastructure resources and those kinds of things. So let's watch this. And I'm going to mute it actually, because the folks in the video have such thick accents that I'm sure the YouTube captions will not pick it up, but I'll explain to you what you need to see. So this fellow is somebody who has to live in the slums right now outside of Liberia, or in Liberia in Africa. And this lady is taking you on a tour of her temporary shack. She's throwing up the sheets to show you 6 bunks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the floor. That green thing was the toilet. Let me pause this. That green thing was the toilet. Right by the bunks, there's the kitchen. I didn't do it, did I? So she's throwing up those sheets. There's not sufficient space for people's mental well-being. There's not sufficient space for people's physical well-being. That's the toilet. Here's the kitchen right there. This is probably a 12 by 12 shack where 6 people are living. She has just told this guy 6 people live there. Now, he's going to show you other examples of non-durable housing that doesn't have enough space. So these are sticks, pieces of extra wood, tin that is not fixed to the extra wood. You're going to see cardboard walls. Look at the narrow gaps in between, sheets for front doors, fabric sheets. Here's cardboard walls. You can see the daylight on the other side of the cardboard, daylight coming in the tin that's on the roof. He shows one that's just made out of tin only. This is what a slum, this is the kind of non-durable house. He says right here there was a flood and the shack that was constructed there was washed away. Now, this is the water supply. And this is garbage from the slum. Part of the infrastructure that first world countries, high income countries, and most upper middle income countries have is proper sanitation systems in order to take waste far away from where human beings have to live. Because human waste is bad enough, but we also make garbage from things that we eat or things that we throw out. And if you put it in your water source is contaminated. If you put it outside, it attracts other animals that have diseases, have bugs and vermin on them that are going to also carry diseases and that can affect you, parasites, these kinds of things. So this is a garbage dump in the middle of this river, and look behind the narrator. This is a garbage dump also, because the infrastructure is not there to send a truck to pick it up and carry it off to a landfill. My husband calls it Garbage Mountain over in between North Little Rock and Jacksonville. That's proper sanitation that takes the garbage away and disposes of it in an environmentally friendly way. So in this particular section of the video, we're going to learn about what secure tenure means. Remember, that means that you have the right to your property and nobody can evict you, surprise evict you, or intentionally cause you to leave without any other resources. So this lady was evicted. She left immediately with only the blanket, the purse, and the baby, and the clothes on her back. Everything else was demolished because she had constructed one of these non-durable shacks for herself and her baby on that hillside where you just saw the bulldozer, but they didn't have a right to be there, and the landowner wanted them gone. So one day he brought bulldozers in and took it all away. She's waving her hand. She said they just took it all away. And so she got out with whatever she could get out with, and now she's got the purse, the sweater, the child, the baby blanket. And she doesn't know what she's going to do. So we're going to see her wander over into this other slum area, and she finds one that has been abandoned by someone and a cot. She's talking now about if she's able to even find anything to eat, have a life chance for food for her child and herself. And so she sometimes washes clothes for people if they are willing to give her a scrap of food in order to be able to eat for her baby and herself. So you see she's found this place. The reason you see light is the cameraman. There's no electricity here. So this is the dwelling that she has, a cot next to, I don't know what that wall is made of, but at least she's found a place to sit down. She still doesn't have the right to it. Now we're going to see, it's bad enough we saw that garbage mountain in the previous section of this, but now we're going to see what clean water, how clean water matters to people, how it matters to human development, and how proper sanitation matters. So this man has a life chance for clean water. He's hauling it right there from someplace I don't know, but he's hauling it to his family. So they have a life chance for clean water. But if you don't have sanitation that keeps feces and disgusting things out of your home, the clean water isn't going to matter. So he's introducing us to his family. They had to flee from the rural areas into the city. The city wasn't ready for them, so there wasn't housing, there's not jobs, there's not infrastructure resources, there's absolute poverty conditions. They fled because of warfare to try to stay safe. And here they are, absolute poverty. He's talking to you about his baby being sick, and he's about to show you why his baby is sick. This drainage ditch between the shacks, it's not just a drainage ditch. He's going to show you the outhouse that's uphill from all of these shacks. This is the public outhouse. It's essentially just a bar to stand on and squat and pee pee poo poo and all kinds of caca running down the hill into people's houses. So even though he had a life chance for clean water, he has no chance to have a long, healthy life as far as human development goes, because this sanitation is so poor. And so what we see is the effect of low human development index issues. We see infant mortality, meaning children dying. We see very high infant mortality, and that brings the overall life expectancy way down in this nation. We see very low standard of living, and that means they don't have durable housing, sufficient space for everybody, tenure to that house, proper water, proper sanitation. So because of absolute poverty conditions, when you see the word slum, think absolute poverty, you see his baby die. And please pause right now and go get the Kleenex if you don't want to see 8 to 10 little tiny graves with tiny coffins in them. Because they don't just dig one. Because the human development level in this nation is so poor, the life expectancy is so poor, and the graves so tiny, because most often it's babies dying from this lack of infrastructure, from the absolute poverty conditions. So let's count how many graves when they show you a long way off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Are there 7 in addition to the one they've just filled with his infant's body? This is the difference. This is the difference between lolly and low-income nation style of life throughout the world. This is the difference between the first world problems that we have and the third world problems that exist around the world when you're talking about less than $1.25 a day of purchasing power, when you're talking about absolute poverty conditions, when you're talking about low human development levels. This is the kind of result. And this country, Liberia, is one of the wealthier. It's highly impoverished, obviously, but it's one of the wealthier of the low-income nations in the world. So so that's it, folks. Please text me with questions.